Asylum seekers have been stopped at airports in the UK trying to go back to the country that they are apparently fleeing in order to see their relatives at Christmas. Now, I thought this was a joke when I first heard it, but no, sadly, this isn't some made-up narrative. It comes from Border Force Chief Phil Douglas, who was talking about how the Border Force carry out their outbound checks during Christmas time, and he just happened to mention that this was going on. Have a listen.
We do find a lot of people who, for example, have claimed asylum in this country and are heading back to their home country for holidays, which obviously isn't allowed.
So if they're claiming asylum according to the definition, how come, if they are genuine and truly fleeing persecution from their country, why are they trying to get back there on a plane for Christmas? It's hilarious. Look, I'm not saying that genuine asylum seekers shouldn't be helped, but the problem with all of this is that it makes things worse for genuine asylum seekers and creates a feeling of anger amongst British taxpayers like myself, working hard to make ends meet, while many disingenuous so-called asylum seekers save the money that they're given by the British taxpayer to pay for a flight to go back to the country that they're supposedly fleeing persecution from. I mean, it makes a mockery of the UK. They must be laughing at us. It's actually hilarious.
Yeah, that's an interesting take. So I think on the point where she made that it can make it difficult for people who are making who are trying to genuinely move because of dangers to their lives, that it makes it difficult for them. I agree with that, but I think generally asylum, or even like just migration, is a complicated situation, especially if you're moving from an impoverished country, you want to move to a wealthier country, which you consider an economic migration. In that sense, it can be really difficult, and those who are claiming asylum can make it really difficult. And so from those who are living in wealthy countries, I can understand that they can be upset about that kind of situation and feel like people are gaming the system. But from a perspective of someone who is actually an asylum seeker, or whether it's a genuine asylum or not, like they have a desperate need that they want to be able to resolve. And so oftentimes, even if it's economic, it might be like something that is that would dangerously affect their lives. And so a lot of people become desperate that they want to move out of that situation. And I understand that, because for me, I kind of grew up. I did grow up in a poor neighborhood. I see a lot of people who are desperate to be able to make that kind of move. So in that sense, that yes, their lives are actually at risk wherever it is that they are, and they just need an opportunity to be able to do better. But I disagree with the fact that they are using the government's money to fly back home. Everyone that I know that I've heard of or even seen, they are trying to get a job and actually work to earn money and also pay tax in many situations.
I agree with you on that. A lot of asylum seekers, for the most part, trying to better their life. It's a very, very, there are gray areas in the conversation, because even though in the obvious it just seems like black and white, but no, there are gray areas in that where there are situations where people have been displaced because of communal crisis, not necessarily war, like a complete war, situation, but just communal crisis within environments or communities where they know where they grow up, or that's what they know all their life, and because they've been displaced, they've moved and are seeking asylum. For such people, there are times of calm in those areas after those wars. But because they are repeated, there are reprisal attacks, you can never really go to bed for the rest of your life living in that kind of environment. Those kind of people would sometimes want to just go back and connect with the family. I'm not saying that there are not ingenuine asylum seekers. I'm just saying that there's some gray areas that such people we want to just go and try to see how their families who are back there, how they are doing. You know, sometimes it might just be from that perspective, really.
Yeah.
That's why it's not black and white, and it might just present itself like, you know, they're ingenuine.
That's a really good point that you bring up. Like most asylum seekers, not all of them, not every, like if you come from a family, for example, it's not all members of your family that will be able to make that journey to go and seek asylum. Might just be one person that they can push to go through the rigorous journey of going through all the forest, the desert, crossing the ocean. And people lose their lives in those situations. And you know, as a family, you say, okay, you can think about that situation. If you can get this person out, this person can in some distant future come and help us to be get out of this situation also. And that's a really good point. And I think a lot of people miss they don't understand the extent or the delicacies and the things that are not so clear, like about conflicts. About conflicts that happen, like in
very, conflict is in, let's say, a very spectrum, right? Some are extreme, some are mild, some are in between, some are just very unique in the way it impacts people. And so in seeking asylum, and as an immigrant who's away from my extended family, I wouldn't say I'm away from my extended family. I know that tendency to want to go back and connect during celebrations like Christmas, because a lot of time people can get holiday during that period. People can wind down, and so as a result, people want to travel.
And Christmas is a time that you spend with family, so that's the time you feel the need a lot more to connect with your family again. I was even in Nigeria, like I was listening to the news recently. There is an attack, I think in Chibok, or even if it's not Chibok, it's another community that has been attacked several times before. And I'm thinking, in my mind, why are people still living there? Like, those communities are consistently being attacked and killed. But for me, it's difficult for me to understand why people are still living there, because I would have left a long time ago and gone, seek asylum in a place like UK. But the more we are talking about, the more I understand, like, it can be very, very difficult for families to move. Unfortunately,
so that's why there's a need for a lot more discussion, a lot more, orientation around asylum seeking, around the reason, and understanding why people move and why some people stay behind. Because it's not easy to really move, to be candid with you. People have to really be in desperate situation to move.
Exactly.
But I would leave this conversation with the fact that for those who are ingenuine, you're making it hard for those who are genuine, right? In one way or the other. But I know that there are gray areas, and those gray areas need to be brought to light, and there needs to be some way to factor those into how asylum seeking is handled in the Western world. But I'll tell you, it's not always just black and white.
And I think a solution that will also help in this kind of situation is that the asylum seekers, they should understand the consequences of their actions. I don't know how educated they were when they applied for asylum, if they understand that they can still travel back to where, or they cannot, if they understood rather that they cannot travel back to where they fled from. That's another thing that I know that would be very, very helpful, because I don't see any reason why they would do it unless they thought that it's legal or it's permitted. But if they understand that this is something that is going to even hurt your case, a lot of them, they would never do it. They would just remain and try to make sure that they or even organize like meeting in a different location instead of going back to where they were coming from. So I think that's my final comment for now.
Anyway, if you have a varying opinion and you want to, suggest, some views in regards to this conversation, you can drop a comment, and you can also support our channel by liking, following, and subscribing to the channel. Thank you. It's been a good one. Thank you, Wale.
Thank you, Precious. I'll see you in the next one.
All right, then.